First of all, greetings once again. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Blinder. I am publisher of ENP Magazine. This is what we call a sponsored webinar. We are currently live in a couple of continents right now and sharing our screens and our knowledge and hopefully some ideas that you'll be able to use to create some efficiency. First of all, before we get started, let me first welcome in the other faces you're seeing now. Chris Freeman, welcome, account executive at ATEX. Let me say this correct. Cesare, did I say that correct, sir? Your first name?
Cesare, yes,
Cesare Navarotto,
Navarotto, yeah.
Chief Product Officer at ATEX. Stuart Bowley, that's an easy one, Stuart, Product Lead at ATEX. Gentlemen, we have a tradition whenever I do webinars now or I do my show, my vodcast. Since AI is so front of mind in everyone's place, especially in news publishing, we don't go to your About You page. We actually go to ChatGPT and ask it about you. So I'm not going to tell you what ChatGPT is saying about ATEX. You tell me on a grade of A to F how it's doing. All right, here we go. ATEX is a UK-based company specializing in content management, advertising, and digital solutions for the media industry. Established in 1973, ATEX has evolved to support both print and digital publishing workflows. Their offerings include Desk, a browser-based multi-channel content management system, ACE, ATEX Content Engine, an API-first multi-channel CMS designed for building multi-device presentation layers, cross-advertising, a comprehensive advertising management system covering sales, CRM, booking, production, and invoicing, insights, analytics, top tools to help educators and managers optimize workflows. ATEX serves a global clientele, including newspapers, websites, magazines, and broadcasters, enabling them to deliver news efficiently across various platforms. Who wants to, okay, Cesare, how did it do? A to F on a scale. Does ChatGPT know your company or not?
GPT knows my company.
It did okay? How about you, Stuart? Was that a good description?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, good. All right, so that's our introduction to ATEX. Now, today's webinar was going to be about a hot topic now, print automation, and how many publishers exploring it can optimize workflows and reallocate resources and just basically improve what they call, profits, the bottom line. And while we share insights from a couple of case studies, I want to first focus on the one we've been promoting heavily. I'll swing this to Chris first. Chris, you handle a company in the UK, one of your clients called Tyndall Newspapers. Could you give me a quick overview of who the heck they are? I know they're really well known on the other side of the pond, but for those of us here, who is Tyndall and what's their operation like?
Yeah, let me share out my screen and I will tell you a little bit about them. Tyndall Newspapers is a long-standing group publisher in the UK, as you said, one of the largest privately owned group publishers in the UK, actually. They manage around 20 regional print titles. And let me just flip my screen here. As well as associated websites, social channels, and 5 radio stations. So Tyndall has been working with ATEX since around 2016, using our solutions to drive workflow and efficiencies.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about why did they approach you? What was the challenges? What were they like before, and what are they like now? Once they explored auto-pagination.
Yep. In 2023, they turned to us because they had sort of conducted an internal audit, if you will, on how they could improve efficiencies, optimize these workflows. We recommended auto-pagination as sort of a natural extension of our partnership. The challenge for Tyndall was managing high production demands, all the while reducing their reliance on manual processes. So they needed a way to streamline workflows, reduce Adobe licenses, free up their teams to create quality content. So this article sort of sums this up. This is actually in America's newspapers press release, and Scott Wood is the managing director of Tyndall
Yeah.
Newspapers, and this is sort of what
Well,
he.
we're
Okay,
not
so we're
seeing
not
your screen right now, Chris. You have something you want to
exactly.
show us. Just please share away. And we'll put a link to that up into the chat room too, if you like. All right, here we go,
Sure, I'm
Chris.
sorry about that.
There
Yeah,
we go.
sorry about
Yeah.
that.
All right, so
So,
gentlemen, I remember this. This was something that was put out recently by America's newspapers as a press
correct.
release. Okay, great. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is just sort of the story. You can go on America's newspapers and read this, but essentially, what Scott is saying here is what I just sort of mentioned, is that they've worked with us for many years, and so this was a natural progression for them into auto-pagination. The results that they were able to achieve are here. An 85% reduction in user counts. They centralized the print subbing process, and of course, as a byproduct, they reduced the Adobe footprint and the AWS costs. I think, and I have underlined here, I think one of the most important things is that they've now allowed their staff to focus on what matters: quality content, local content creation, which is what they specialize in.
So basically, like many in the U.S. now that have they said, okay, we're now centralizing our pagination into work groups for the entire company. This takes it to a new level where you don't have to have as many bodies doing that function. These same people with these skills could be working on ad creation, working on other things to support the news operation or the advertising operation rather than the day-to-day tasks of simply pagination. And they were able to reduce that by 90%. Am I correct? This is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
approximately 85. I mean, I think that's even conservative. So yeah, I mean, probably closer to 90, actually.
All right, so let's go to the product lead here, and that would be Stuart. Stuart, this is your product. What the heck? Okay, treat me like I'm a 3-year-old, Stuart, because I am a publisher. But before that, I was in advertising for 35 years. That's all I did was generate revenue. Now I paginate. Now I publish. And I have a human being that lays out my stuff. And we pay them to do that. So treat me like I'm a 3-year-old. What is auto-pagination? And is it new? Is it different? Is it what? Just can you give me like the quick, elevator pitch and what this all means, Stuart?
Of course I can. Thanks, Mike. Auto-pagination, I mean, if you look at what we're doing with print in ATEX at the moment, everything is around and has been around automation for years and years and years. And there's been baby steps where people have used templates to design pages. There's been steps on top of that that have improved things like automatically placing advertising, automatically placing standing artwork, et cetera, et cetera. So this has been a natural evolution built on top of that. Auto-pagination is exactly as Chris has described. It's about doing more with less. It's about automating your pages, but not throwing away the design ethos of your publications. So it has to abide by those. And at the end of the day, again, as Chris has said, it's about redirecting your staff to really the core business of storytelling within their operation. And, typically that starts with telling stories digitally. And then we're moving them into the print workflow.
All right, so let's talk about a typical workflow. I know my typical workflow now, and it takes us a couple days to get everything right. This thing is a learning machine. I mean, again, treat me like I'm a 3-year-old. I know there's other people in this webinar with much more operations experience than me, but just for my benefit, how does it work? How does it integrate into systems like MyType or even tools that publishers are already using today? Those that say, I have my tools, how does this integrate into that? And how does that workflow look?
If I may, can I grab the screen?
Sure.
All right, and let's take you to here. So you should be seeing this. This is the ATEX website, and I've actually posted the link to the page that I'm looking at, the print automation page, into the chat, so you can take a look. But look, ATEX have got a lot of products. You're not surprised by that. We've got a lot of products in the various divisions that are listed out there. But if you look at content, We've got digital products, we've got print products, we've got sort of niche products that go alongside each of those verticals. To answer your first question, Mike, how do I bring this into my business? Let's say from the outset, you don't need to take the entire suite of ATEX products. These products are modular, so you can take those that are required by your business. Okay, so that's the first thing to be very clear on. Look, we'd love to sell everything to everybody, but that's not the real world.
Right.
People have made investments. They can't change the entire, landscape of their production environment. So if you had, for example, Blocks, or you had WordPress, or you had Drupal as your digital delivery tool, your digital creation tool, if you want to think of it like that, then of course we'll integrate with that. If you were using our tool, MyType, then I know that there's great information held against content that's going to help us drive auto-pagination. So information like which website has it been used on, which section has it been used on, maybe, was it a high trending story? We have all of that information. But that information, of course, is not only available through ATEX, it's available in other systems. But that information in itself is really important because that's the driver for auto-pagination. Essentially, the workflow is exactly as everybody's doing at the moment. So your workflow is digital first.
Right.
That's not mandatory, by the way, but that's the world that we're living in. It's the world that our clients, and I'm guessing pretty much everybody in this call, is living in. So the content is published digitally. It's out on the website, and then we want to move it through to print. So it's moved through to print and placed into a news list. A news list. Well, we're going to run a survey actually at the end of this webinar that asks about news lists. But a news list is something, again, that everybody nowadays is doing. Everybody's been doing for years and years and years. It's simply the running order of what content they're going to publish. But in terms of digital, this is a means of drawing all of that content into a location, maybe prioritizing it, maybe deciding that certain pieces of that content have to go into certain pages of the newspaper. Maybe, your lead news, your lead sport, you might have a slot specifically for that. But the news list will control what content is published and where it's published. It will take on board the attributes that I mentioned before from the website to help publish news to news, sport to sport, features to features, etc., etc. And what we've done with news lists is, of course, you can curate them manually. But we're trying to be efficient. I've mentioned this word countless times already. So we are able to automatically populate the news list based on those attributes, which means that's the leg up. That means you're already halfway there in terms of curating the news list for a publication.
But you can make your own corrections and make changes to it, correct?
Of course you can. And that again is the real world. We've
Right.
been around the block, as you said. ATEX have been in existence for a long time. And yes, of course, we want to, as many clients say, just hit the button and build the pages. Great. There's a little bit more to it than that. Of course, you need to have a plan, and you need some information that drives that. So the news list is created. Okay. The layout. The important thing for us when we're putting together the pages is that it looks like a proper newspaper. So we're not throwing away years and years and years of what is recognized as good design of newspapers and magazines for that matter. We're upholding those designs. In fact, auto-pagination actually has a really positive side effect, and that is that it locks down the design, because guess what? Nobody's touching the pages anymore. So all of that work that you've put in to establish a style guide for your titles is actually upheld by using auto-pagination, because the number of people, as I say, touching the pages is really reduced.
This is what I see. This is what appeals to me, because we had, if I may go into our story, we had one designer that over 4 years got to really know our magazine. Do you know what I mean? And almost but then they left. And now, and not that the new one isn't qualified, but it's taking us an extra day now. Do you see what I'm saying? Um,
I do see what you're saying.
this is a learning environment, right? He gets to know me and gets better at serving me, correct? Is this what I'm hearing? What I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And then, what we bring in, okay, we're laying down content into designs that are recognized as your sort of house style, but then we need to help you out. We need to be efficient again. And we don't want people having to dive into the pages and sub-edit them manually. That's not auto-pagination. That's just laying out pages and then somebody's making them fit. So the next step for us, once we've laid down, or whilst we're laying down the content on the pages, is that we apply auto-fitting to that content as well. Now, of course, the rules by which you can auto-fit content are decided by you, but what we're trying to deliver is that light touch, in terms of producing these pages. So content fitting is a really, really important part to that. And we can change typography, we can change layout, we can change image sizes, we can do any number of different things. And when you factor in what AI brings to the party, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, you can go way beyond what we've listed out there as the 3 bullet points.
So all in end-to-end workflow, regardless of which tools I take, I, as a publisher, can pretty much take complete control over this and have less bodies doing it. Is that what I'm hearing? This is what it all is.
Exactly what you're hearing. That's exactly what you're hearing. And we've heard some horror stories from publishers. Look, we all know, and it's boring when we talk about ad revenue for print, but we know that story. And the horror stories we've heard are, ATEX, if we can't produce this title automatically, we're probably going to have to kill the title.
Right. Kill.
Some people are at that point. So auto-pagination, it's an absolute necessity in the case of some titles in some publishing organizations.
As we need to trim every single cost. I mean, we just had a story about how you can save on mailing costs. And now, of course, we have tariff interest that here in the US that could impact the cost of newsprint. There's so many things that impact the cost of that core legacy product that many do not want to stop producing. But they get to a point where you have to say, am I in or am I out? This is another way you can say, wait a second, I can take more off the bottom line expenses, right? And just make sure that I get this thing to be as profitable as possible. So talk to me about the final benefit. How does the flexibility of all these tools benefit publishers, or just don't even know what AI is, or just starting with automation? I mean, some are very advanced now, as you know, but many are just scared to stick their toe in. They're reading so many articles, pro and con. How does this benefit someone who's brand new at this, if I may ask?
I don't think this is anything new, and that might sound controversial.
No, go ahead.
What we're doing is automating what are manual steps at the moment. So we're not saying, okay, radically change, the way that you publish print. Print is built around content. In this case, the content comes from digital. Most people are starting from that end. We're simply taking that pot of content with the attributes and saying, right, we know based on what we've learned about your titles, where that content goes. So when we look at pages, for example, we understand how much editorial space is on a page. So we know what content can go into those spaces. We know that this is a lead news story versus a sort of a nibs news story. So therefore, it's going to be in a more prominent position. So bringing together all of that information, all of that knowledge is what allows us to automate the process. And then, the end result, the benefit to the client, well, it's listed out in the 5 bullet points there. You're more efficient, so you can definitely do more with less. You can redeploy those staff to different tasks within the organization. Typically, that's around storytelling, but not exclusively around that. Of course, you reduce your production cost. I'm not going to dance around that. That's why people are doing this. And there is another aspect to this where it's not just about reducing production costs, quote unquote. It also can reduce the total cost of ownership of your system. So if you're no longer having to, take so many Amazon workspaces, that's going to reduce the cost of your system. If you're no longer having to, dare I say, buy as many seat licenses from ATEX or any other vendor, that reduces the cost of your system. So there are a number of benefits, all of which are outlined in the 5 points that are on the screen there.
Spoiler alert, if I may. Many know on this, and we have a very narrow audience here because operations is just one facet of the news publishing industry. But spoiler alert, my next guest on my podcast was just interviewed yesterday. It's Gordon Burrell from Burrell Associates, the largest research firm for advertising expenditures. And there's some good news in there that advertisers are feeling positive and they will be spending more. But there's some bad news there that our sales reps are being perceived less useful to small businesses. If I may be so bold, and I'm allowed to because this is my show, if you have resources invested in quality designers that are doing pagination, perhaps you should rethink that, use automation, and allow these designers not just to help on the editorial side, but damn it, on the advertising side. We should be doing more speccing. We should be getting more involved in the creative process for our small businesses. And maybe that's something we should be. Do you mind me inserting that there, Stuart, or is that too, I mean?
I don't mind that at all. And I love to talk about designers because, as I said, Mike, auto-pagination preserves the designs that they've put in place.
Right.
The worst thing that can happen to them is somebody opens the page in InDesign or whatever the pagination tool is, because then you open the door to destroying the design ethos of their title. So absolutely, that is a really strong point with regards to auto-pagination. Designers love it. It allows them to lock down and uphold the designs that they've spent, time and money putting together for publishing organizations.
We're getting to like the halfway point here, and I want to swing it over to Cesare. But you guys sent me an email about a survey. Is this a good time to insert that? Do you want to hold that? Is this?
This is a perfect time to insert that.
And are you going to do that? Maybe I should just turn it over to you. We just want to poll the audience. Don't take too much of your valuable time because we got to get to the chief product officer next and really dissect auto-pagination. Also, I forgot to mention as he's getting the survey ready, there is a chat room below. There's a Q&A room below. You got any questions, concerns, you want to challenge what's being said, please get in there and start a dialogue. We'll get to your questions. We'll get to your concerns. Are you ready to do the survey there, Stuart?
Absolutely. So, guys, if you look in the chat, the first link in the chat is the link to the survey. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to share my screen and just explain one or two of the questions, if I may.
I'm putting it back in, so it's the next link everybody sees.
Yeah.
There it is. So if you take a look in the chat area, you'll see a link that goes to a web page. It says menti.com. And you were going to ask some questions. Okay, great.
So we just have 4 slides. We're not going to kill you with 100 questions.
All right.
So we have 4 slides that are all related to the conversation that we've just had. Really, first one is the obvious one, and I hope that you are building news lists today. I really believe that you probably are. But the questions are you building them? Yes or no? If you are you building them manually or automatically, or maybe partially automatically? So this is an interactive poll. So thank you. Somebody's voted. Thank you for that. If you can cast your vote now, this feels like Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent. We'll see this information updating live as we go along. I'm not going to vote because I'm biased, but once we've got a few in, we can move through. Is everybody able to click on the link and cast a vote?
Please feel free to use the link. It's number 1 in your chat room. And I don't want people to feel like they have to do this, but I don't know. Let's see. I made sure it was in the chat. Is everybody able to see it? If you can see it in there, please, by all means, participate if you can. It's a menti.com link. Cesar sent it to host and panelist. I sent it to host and I'll send it out there again. Make sure everybody gets it. There it is. Cesar, we may have an audience that doesn't feel like participating right now. I hope that's okay, Stuart.
Okay, perfectly okay. You can answer this in your own time. Yeah. Let's move through the next slide and just make sure that everybody is clear on what we're asking here. So this is on AI. You know, the AI division of ATEX have delivered products for us that are being used today by various clients, and they're around content creation and helping with ensuring good SEO scoring. So the possibilities with AI are endless, but of course it can create content, it can summarize content. We're doing that, but one of the areas that that we're
Guys,
also being asked to look at. Yep.
in the Q&A, they're saying that the chat is disabled, so they could not see the link.
Oh my
So
word.
actually, if you want to participate, someone figured out, you just can type menti.com as an address in your browser, and then use this code 26869913, and you should jump right into the survey.
How do
So,
I enable the chat? Is that my fault?
yeah.
Please forgive me. Host and panelists, everyone. All right, sorry, it was my fault. Boy,
Now,
I'm supposed to be a good host. Okay, now I'm resending it in the chat room. Go back to that first question if you don't mind. Can you see it now, everyone? Please tell us. I think we're getting.
this.
Yeah, I think we're doing. Yes, everybody's saying it. Thank you. Join us in quickly for this survey because I think it'll be fascinating, and we'll get the numbers up. But are you building news lists today? I mean, my answer would be yes. I'm doing it both manually and automatically because I have a little bit of both. I have to, my database is everything to me right now at E&P. It's my heart and soul. I do everything I can to make it accurate. It's how we do most of our marketing today, especially through email and social media, what have you. Then we also have our print circulation list, and we have to look at both of those. Okay, someone is asking what the link is. I'm going to try to send it out one more time. There it is. Can everyone see that link to hosts and panelists? Oh, hosts and panelists. Wait a second. I'm doing this one wrong. I got to send it to everybody, don't I? So how do I do that?
Yeah.
I do it this way. Everyone now. Sorry if I'm frustrating our audience. There we go. That's Cesare to everyone. Yes, I'm getting yeses now. Are you building news lists today? Is the
This is
first
fun.
question. All right.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're seeing some votes.
Now
finally, yeah.
In
Oh,
fact,
now it's funny.
see, this is a
That's looking
high-end
better.
webinar about automation and being good at communications, and we suck at it, obviously, here at E&P, because we don't know how to use the damn chat in Zoom. I ask for everyone's forgiveness, but hey, I'm a publisher, not a Zoom
Okay,
expert.
that's cool.
Really
All
great.
right.
Should we go to the next slide,
Yeah,
Cesare?
let's,
Yeah.
but no, we're saying
Next
that most
one.
people do it manually, which is a shame.
Yeah. Well, we're going to recap on the results in a second. So let's just explain. So this is about, would you consider using AI to create content such as quotes and summaries? A lot of people are using it for summaries. Quotes is an interesting one because you can use pull quotes, for example, similar to the examples here, to help you out when you're trying to fit content.
Let me
It's
ask
a
you,
really interesting question. So
well,
we've got some good answers on that.
well, before you go to the next slide, question to you, sir, from me, is one of the challenges we have at E&P is our content management system automatically pushes the same headline and pull quote to digital, and
Yeah.
we find that we have to make changes to those in order to get the best
Yeah.
engagement. You need
That
that
was something,
flexibility, right?
yeah, that was something that I was going to touch on in the workflow.
Excellent.
And you're absolutely right. You know, headlines are written differently for those channels, and that's a perfect example of where you could use AI to help you for shorten the rewriting of those pieces of content. This is an even more interesting one for me because this is actually, and let's be very clear what we're asking here. Would you consider using AI to rewrite content to fit the page? So this is replacing a sub-editor. So
This
you've
is our,
written an article, it's 5 lines over. Would you consider hitting a button to say to AI, okay, effectively summarize this, but summarize it into a specific area of a newspaper or a magazine? I'm not surprised that people are saying yes, that's something that they would do. It's something that we're looking at with our AI division at the moment as well.
it's our biggest challenge. It's our biggest time sink at E&P is that we
Yeah.
publish the same articles digitally as we do in print, but the digital versions are much longer with many more assets.
Yeah.
Duh, the cost of print is expensive. We try to summarize them into 750 words, sometimes 1,500 words. So I hear that. All right.
I think we've got one last slide.
Please.
Cesare, thank you. So this goes a little bit, Mike, to what you were saying, when you were asking, okay, what pages and how many pages and what style of pages can I lay out using AI? My answer to that is you can create any page using our system, but there is a school of thought that says, the front page and the back page, they're my shop windows. So therefore, I'll handcraft those and I'll use auto-pagination to sort of fill the book in between times. But we're going to be really interested to see the results of these questions.
And we know not everybody is clicking to do this, but it's very telling, and we appreciate our audience participation. You are the first of our marketing partners to do a survey in the middle of a webinar, so thank you again,
survey.
ATEX. But you are groundbreaking. We always do them after the webinar. This is pretty cool, and it's real time. I feel like this is very exciting to see. So everybody's around the 3.8, 3.7. Excellent. All right, so you're going to summarize this later on, Stuart, and then we're going to
summarize it later on. Yeah, thanks everybody for
all right, we really
participating
appreciate
in
you
that.
dealing with that complexity there. Now, Cesare, you've been sitting in the background. You are the Chief Product Officer. This is your baby. Tyndall's success with auto-pagination is very clear. When we got that document, but you got a lot of other things, a lot of tools in your toolbox. You got a lot of modular systems. Even ChatGPT mentioned all the different systems. So what if someone joins you just for auto-pagination? Is there a broader digital strategy they can explore with ATEX? I mean, go ahead. This is your chance to shine and be proud of all the products you have.
Yeah, I think I will show you my type. Let me share the screen because that's our most recent initiative, and that's really where we even invented a new word, journalism, because we think that it's time not to bring back the joy of working with journalism, and we want to do it with a new platform that is my type, that is really supposed to help the journalist along the entire editorial workflow. So the idea is that we provide, here you see a glimpse of the interface, but if I show you, by the way, the link to the website is again in the chat. We can, Stuart, share it to everyone because we did it wrong, so now we need to reshare it. And just mentioning some features of this platform. As I said, we want to follow the entire workflow, and the first part of the workflow is probably one of the most important ones, which is the news gathering part. And there we have a very powerful modular solution where you can monitor external sources, being it wires or press releases or even competitors. And we can bring automatically all those sources into my type, into the system. And from there, you can paraphrase them, modify, and create your own drafts for publishing. And this is an interesting module that we can offer also as a standalone product, so that can be plugged on top of your existing CMS, your existing solution. We have heavily integrated AI features into my type. For example, in this case, in the news gathering area, we have automatic translations, multi-language. We have customers that are monitoring, for example, news sources in a foreign language, then using my type to translate those with one click and publish in English, for example. We have audio and video transcriptions. So if you have video interviews or audio interviews, you can transcribe automatically by uploading to my type and have a ready to use text for your articles. In the news production part, you have, of course, a very very easy to use editor, extremely fast. Because we are leveraging the local cache basically of your browser to provide instant search results. And again, we have integrated AI here as well to help the editor with summarization, paraphrasing, headline suggestions, everything that you can imagine an AI assistant can do nowadays. Also SEO guidelines. I mean, trying to guide the editor into optimizing the content for better search engine rankings, proofreading. News distribution also very important. So once you have an article, you need to publish it on different channels. First of all, on the web, of course, but also on even more important, maybe nowadays on socials and on newsletters. And MyType allows you to do exact that. Once you have an article ready for publishing, you can directly post it to your social channels from within MyType. And then finally, the last bit is probably news monetization. So we provide paywall integration. We have, of course, integration with advertising solutions and with analytics, so that you can track the performance of your contents directly from within MyType. Yeah, if just I may show you Newsbeat, which is how we decided to call the module, the news gathering module that can be used as a standalone solution. Here you see a very short video about how a typical workflow can be. So you see some incoming wires. For example, in this case, it's a wire in Italian. You can, with one click, transform a wire into an article draft. And in this case, being it in Italian, I want to translate it to English, and the system helps me exactly with that. So you see, I select the text, I can use the AI to translate it. With one click, I will replace the text. Then I can ask also for title suggestions. And yeah,
You know,
get
it's funny, Cesare. In a year, if I were to meet with you, this will be 5 times as advanced, won't it? This is a moving target.
yeah,
I mean,
it's a moving target. I mean, now it's just I think the difference is not in made by the features that you implement, but made by how you implement them. So in our case, it's really trying to integrate as smoothly as possible these tools, because of course you can do almost everything I showed you using ChatGPT, but you need to go there, copy paste stuff back and forth. In this case, everything is right there, no, in front of you.
and
Yeah,
ChatGPT doesn't like it when you copy and paste things from a document that has coding in it. You have to then take it and reduce it to a text file and then put it. I mean, there's a lot of
yeah,
this is all seamless, and this learns you in the news publishing industry, correct? It grows with you. Do I have that
yeah.
right, sir?
Of course. And as a last note, you can on the MyType website, you can just go and try create a user there to try the solution, or even book a demo for us to explain better directly. And just very important, we are about to release a MyType plugin for WordPress. So that again, like
There
Stuart
you go.
mentioned before, you do not need to switch completely, to migrate away from your system, but you could just plug MyType in front of your existing CMS, and your editors would get access to all of these tools right away without a big implementation project, and also with a very, I mean, sensible investment.
Well, it brings us to the Q&A, and we would love more questions in the chat room, as long as they're ones we can answer. But we had some already submitted.
Sure.
Let me just send this out to you already mentioned this, Cesare. I mean, this and Stuart and both Chris mentioned this as well. You are already integrated with blocks, correct? Which hundreds of newspapers use. You're soon to be integrated, you just said, with WordPress. Um, so in other words, integration is easy, correct? There's not a problem in someone saying, we already have our system in place. This is a way to, go ahead.
Every installation that we make involves integration with third-party products. It's part of a project for us. We expect it. As I said, candidly, we'd love to sell all of our products to everybody, but that's not the real world. So, if you have a different ad planning system to ATEX, we integrate that. If you have a different digital system to ATEX, we integrate that. If you have any components that are different to ATEX, we can integrate them. Of course we can. We've got really good, rich APIs to enable that to happen.
Got it. How does it work? I'm hearing some background noise there. Thank you. I'm not sure. Cesare, that might be coming from you there. Outline the scope of work that can be accomplished. All pages, including, sports, agate, classifieds, legal, special sections. I mean, there's a lot of different verticals that are like the job boards. I could go on and on that people are assembling. I'm sometimes making a hammer or a saw by having to embed HTML code inside of HTML code. I mean, how seamless is this? How does this work within those kinds of environments to anyone on the panel?
I'll take it. You can produce any of those pages. I touched on it again in my piece, where there is a certain school that says, leave the front and the back with me, because that's my shop window, as I said, and we'll handcraft those to the greatest effect. A little bit like your homepage on your website. We have tools to, curate those manually. But that's not a hard and fast rule. You could produce the entire print publication automatically if you wanted to. But this is the thing, the extent to which people deploy auto-pagination is down to them. Some of them are taking baby steps, and some of them are happy with those baby steps, where they'll produce 30, 40, 50, 60%, right up to, 90, 95% of the paper. But any of those baby steps ultimately are beneficial because it frees up resource to do other things.
Chris, you're the lead here in the United States, right? I mean, if people want more information about ATEX, they reach out. I mean, you're the one we've been working with here at E&P. How affordable is this? I mean, make your elevator pitch now. You've been quiet in the background as the product.
It's been very it's very affordable. The thing is that because these systems are modular, it really depends on, of course, what you need. But when it comes to auto-pagination as a modest user fee, there is an auto-pagination fee, which is typically based on title, and then there may or may not be a hosting component depending on if it's hosted or self-deployed. So really, these are, when it comes to pricing, yes, it's affordable especially when you consider all the things that it's going to help you with the ROI.
Yeah, but
it's immediate ROI.
And you may be removing other fees, right? Like InDesign license fees and things like that. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, So when you take all of that into consideration, you're going to be ahead.
Yeah, and in the long run, and again, God forbid, he said sarcastically, you have designers now working less on the mundane tasks. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. I interviewed ChatGPT on my program. I actually gave her a gender and a voice and asked her the hard question. Oh, you did? I asked her the hard questions about the industry, but she kept saying back to me, I'm not here to take jobs. I'm here to make you do better stuff. I'm taking the mundane off, the day-to-day stuff that's holding you down. Those designers could be doing amazing things within your sales environment or in your editorial environment to increase your audience and increase your revenue, as opposed to just laying out pages. Am I saying that right, Chris? It all boils down.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, AI is not a replacement for humans. It is a way to maximize people's efforts, and that's essentially what we're adopting at ATEX as well.
We usually cut these things off at 45 minutes. We've hit that mark. We're not getting any more questions in the chat room, and I believe it's enabled now, he said, apologetically. If anyone wants to ask a question, quickly throw it in there. Chris, I understand there's a link. Okay, I just got Lori. Can you show how the copy flows on the page? Is that something you guys are available to do, or do you want to send Lori a link? It's totally up to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I would say to Lori, best thing we can do is set up a personalized demo for you, have a discussion, and then show you an actual demo to see how it flows on the page. But essentially, I mean, I can tell you, you hit a button and it starts placing content right onto the page on predefined pages. But we're happy to show it in more detail to anyone here in a demo. That's usually the best way to do it. So we can answer your questions and personalize it for you.
Now, Chris, you've already posted a URL that ends in ATEX-print automation. That's a special page you've crafted for this webinar, right? That'll walk everybody through what we just did and also has a place to click to learn more. Am I correct, Chris?
It is an ATEX page that
Yes.
is specifically about print automation.
Yep.
And yeah, for anyone who wants to learn more, reach out to me or fill out the form on our website. You can reach out to me directly. I'll probably LinkedIn request all of you, and yeah, let's set up a demo. We're happy to do it.
And we have a number of people that are going to be watching the recording of this later today, he said, because I'm time stamping this now. The same goes for you. Chris, would you do me a favor? Pop your email address in the chat room as well.
Yeah.
In case someone wants just to reach out to you now. We will have appropriate links to all of these pages, all of this information on the landing page. For those of you who are listening to the recording, go to the landing page link. You're going to see it all. Gentlemen, Cesare, I said your name correct. Navarotto. Yeah. I've said it.
Perfect.
Thank you for your knowledge and your wisdom and your complete, how should I say this, understanding of AI and the challenges of the industry. Stuart, you couldn't have done a better job, Stuart Bowley, product lead, on talking us through the features and the benefits of the program. Chris, thank you for talking about how easy it is to integrate this into any news publishing environment. Gentlemen, I thank you for your time. I thank our audience for your time. Go to those links, reach out to Chris. Thank you so much for being part of this experience. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.